G'day folks, it's Gary from NSYakfisher Outdoors. I am sitting here in my yard with the OneTigris iron wall set up with a G stove in it. Just gonna do a quick review and maybe a little bit of a comparison compared to the iron wall to the OneTigris Black Orca Smokey hut. Both are excellent tents, both have their drawbacks, both have their advantages. For me, this is a superior tent, but I'll get into that in a little bit. It does have some significant drawbacks or things that I'd like to see different, but that's the way she goes with most stuff. You'll see behind me where the pipe comes out for the G stove that I just have a makeshift chimney jack there. A lot of people seem to be upset on the net about that doesn't come with one. I'm not one of them. It would increase the cost of the tent significantly, and really they're cheap to make. I mean, I made one out of a silicone baking mat. I have to do a couple repairs and changes to it, but it's been working great in both the Smokey hut and I guess the dog wants to be part of the video too. The Smokey hut and the iron wall. Basically, the things I like about the iron wall over the Smokey hut is it has a mesh inner. That makes the tent usable all year round, basically. There's a couple of things I'd like to see in the inner that would have made it even better, but the inner is really a big game changer. I'll use this tent in the spring, probably in the summer some when I'm not hammocking. So in that case, it's a real advantage over the Smokey hut. The other main difference probably between the two tents is the position of the chimney vent. And I mean, to each his own. I find that for me, it doesn't make a huge lot of difference for one person. But if I want to take my spouse with me and we do want to do some hot tenting this winter, the position of the stove vent in the iron wall just sets up more to my liking if I want to put two people in the tent. So that's a big plus for me. Some of the negatives of both tents, the pegs that come with them are basically crap. I mean, you're gonna be camping in cold weather with hard ground, and even unless you're camping in a field, there's gonna be rocks. I mean, I've bent most of the pegs on both tents already. The tie outs for the sides on both tents, they don't come with enough for all the different tie outs, but that's okay. I mean, I keep my own tie outs anyway, so I'll continue to do that. Right now I don't have them hooked up yet, but they're on the side, just laying on the sides of the tents. I have high vis ones, so when I'm camping with other people, people don't trip over them. You really need, so you have to expect if you buy either one of these tents, you're going to have to buy pegs or use some that you already have. I have some 8 to 10 inch spikes basically that can screw in and out, which are a great advantage to winter camping. I mean, you can screw them down into the ground. Realistically, the ones that come with them, you're going to be lucky to get them in the ground under good conditions, let alone winter conditions. So if you buy one of these tents, you're probably going to want some more tie outs, because if you're putting a stove in them, you want that tent secure. And certainly fall and winter camping, you're looking at getting some weather and wind, and you don't want that affecting your tent and your stove. It just becomes a dangerous situation. So expect pegs, expect some more tie outs, expect to make a chimney hut. Easy to make on. You can go to a grocery store and get these baking mats or barbecue things for the barbecue, and you can cut them to size, add Velcro. Very simple, very cheap. Or you can buy one offline. It's just going to start at like $40 and probably up from there. So you can make one yourself for probably under $10. So I highly recommend that. Anyway, I'm going to take some video of the tent, show you around it a little bit, and then we'll come back for closing. So stay with me. seriously, you could have been on this side and you would have actually been in the frame more. Okay, right now I'm going to take you inside the Smokey hut, or the iron wall. You can see my G-stove there, and you can see the mesh inner. Now this mesh inner, like I said, was a game changer. It allows me to camp year round basically. However, there's a couple things that I wish were done differently. With a stove in the tent and on, the door is only on the side of the stove end. So getting in and out is almost impossible because there's no door on the other side. I've tried different configurations with the stove and it just basically remains the same. I don't think a stove and the inner is the way to go. Now, in the spring, maybe I can put a catalytic heater there, or I can open the vent and cook my breakfast on an isobutane stove or an alcohol stove or something like that. But as far as the having a hot stove or a hot tent stove and the mesh inner at the same time, probably not a good idea. Now the inner ties out great. The only change I would make and will make is I'll put some sort of a loop here to attach it to the pole in the center. That way I can put stuff on top, get it out of the way. Definitely going to use it, so pretty happy with that. The iron wall is a tad shorter than the Smokey hut, so if you're a bigger person, that might be a consideration. I'm 6 feet and don't have an issue. You see I have a couple makeshift things to hang things on the pole there. The iron wall doesn't have a hook in the inside at the top, where the Smokey hut does, which I found really advantageous for hanging my jacket at night. But like I say, you can make do by making your own hooks on the pole. So anyway, that's the inside. Again, pretty happy with it all. I wish there were doors on both sides of the mesh, but that's a little disappointing, but not a huge game breaker. On the outside, you can see where I've added my own, right now it's high-vis tie-outs. Yeah, highly recommend using all of those when you have a stove going because of the weather and whatnot. Another advantage of the iron wall over the Smokey hut is it has these, hopefully you can see that, little stands to hold your vents open. In the Smokey hut, I had to, I cut little pieces of wood to stick in there to hold the vents open, but these work great. And they really should be on both tents. So. Anyway, again, there's the door, and that's the one thing that jumps out at people right off the bat. The Smokey hut, the whole front can open. That's great for moving stuff in and out, but the door on this is really perfect. I mean, you're talking about winter camping. The door's smaller, but in opening it doesn't cause any stability issues with the stove jack in the stove, so that's good. About the only thing I can say negative about it is on the Smokey hut, you have tie-outs on either side of the stove jack. I really wish there was one here. It'd just make me feel better if I had it tied out. But anyway, that's the brakes. I mean, I could stand to have one here. So basically, you have tie-outs all the way around the tent, except for on either side of the door. And I really think that was probably a misstep. But other than that, I'm pointing out a lot of negatives, but I can't say enough. This is a fabulous tent. So. Anyway, I'll bring you back for some final thoughts. So folks, I don't know what else to say. These are budget-friendly tents, both the Smokey hut and the Iron Wall. If you only plan on winter camping and you don't need a mesh inner, you're not worried about bugs in the shoulder seasons, you're going to use it after the bugs are gone for the year. Maybe the Smokey hut's for you. It's certainly a good tent. I used it in a snowstorm in a previous video. Held up well. A buddy used the Iron Wall. Equally held up well. And this past weekend I was filming a video where I stayed in the Iron Wall using the G-stove and experienced heavy rain and then hail and a little bit of snow just before daylight. No problems. Both tents are excellent. Both tents are economical. You have to expect that you're going to probably have to buy a few things like pegs that you might already have, some more tie-outs. You might want to do a little adjustments to the mesh inner, like adding that center loop to attach to your pole that just give you a spot to put over the top, hang some stuff over the top. I think Lone Wolf 902's video early on with the Iron Wall, he did that, and you can see him putting some stuff on top of his mesh inner. So I highly recommend you checking out his hot tent videos, because he's got a fair amount of them out and coming out. So he really has some interesting thoughts, and he has a review on the Iron Wall as well. I haven't watched it yet, but I think a lot of our thoughts are probably similar. In any event, if you want to get out in winter camp, which I highly recommend, and the thoughts of having a stove in your tent is way more attractive to you than getting up in the morning in a cold or getting out in the cold. You might be warm in your hammock, but getting out, hammock or tent for that matter, but getting up and getting up in the morning and putting those cold boots on and cold clothes and just trying to get yourself up in the morning is the real downer with that. This way everything can be nice and toasty, and you can even cook your breakfast before you get out of bed, which I've done several times now. So can't recommend them enough. They're not perfect, but for the price, they're perfect for me. So pick out one of them, get one, take it out, and enjoy some winter and shoulder season camping with the OneTigris Iron Wall or the Chimney Smokey hut. Can't go wrong with either one. So until next time, I'm Gary from NSYakfisher Outdoors, and we'll see you out there. Bye-bye for now.